And frankly, the capitalist ideology has won out a lot of different ways. But our point of view is that capitalism isn't working nearly as well as it could, because the level of data-driven investment decisions have been held back. And so we're more proactively and more strategically building technology. So more and more people who have a responsibility to make investment decisions, especially for large investment portfolios, they can do so in a more confident, more data-driven way.
Welcome to the Tearsheet podcast. I'm Zack Miller. One of the hardest things in serving the ultra high net worth community is providing them with the type of analytics we've become accustomed to in other parts of financial services and investing. It's been a challenge to provide investors and their investment advisors with pricing and performance information on assets that sit across multiple institutions, many of which don't price regularly. This is the audience Addepar serves, but when you listen to CEO Eric Poirier, it's clear that his mission and his company's mission is much broader in scope. On today's show, we discuss why it was important to build an ecosystem around the ultra high net worth community and what it takes to do this successfully. Eric shares the challenges in serving this community and how Addepar has worked to overcome them. Lastly, we discuss the future of wealth management and how Eric aspires to continue to serve the underserved. Eric Poirier is my guest today on the Tearsheet podcast. Before we continue with our program, I'd like to thank our sponsor, MX, for supporting Tearsheet's work. MX is the leading data platform for banks, credit unions, and fintechs, enabling its clients and partners to easily collect, enhance, analyze, present, and act on financial data.
My name is Eric Poirier, and I'm Addepar CEO.
And how did you get to be Addepar CEO, Eric?
Yeah, so I've spent my career building, software, mainly in financial services, starting, basically when I was in high school. But I'd spent 2003 to 2006 at Lehman in fixed income analytics, and 2006 through the end of 2012 at Palantir, bootstrapping and building out the finance platform and then the business side around that. And so, I made my way to Addepar beginning in 2013 with a recognition that the company's vision and mission were massively well aligned with my own, priorities, and also with a lot of experience just in building out world-class technology teams and solving big, really important client problems for clients in financial services.
And what is that vision and mission?
Yeah, so just broadly, like Addepar is bringing people, data, and technology together to help investors make better and more informed investment decisions. And so the wealth management platform that we built to date, really what it specializes in is data aggregation, analytics, and portfolio reporting. They cover even the most complex investment portfolios, but that's a means to an end. And frankly, the capitalist ideology has won out a lot of different ways. But our point of view is that capitalism isn't working nearly as well as it could, because the level of data-driven investment decisions have been held back. And so we're more proactively and more strategically building technology. So more and more people who have a responsibility to make investment decisions, especially for large investment portfolios, they can do so in a more confident, more data-driven way. Ultimately, we believe that, at scale, given the importance of financial markets and given the pervasiveness of markets that stretch, of course, globally, we have the opportunity to really advance prosperity for everyone.
So what are some of those explicitly? What are some of those problems that investors have that they would turn to Addepar for?
Yeah, so if you study the the financial crisis of 2007, 2008 pretty closely, one of the somewhat counterintuitive things you see is that whether it be endowments or foundations or family offices, when market conditions started deteriorating, they were tracking. Of course, they wanted to be able to track everything in their portfolio as real time as they could, so they could make thoughtful decisions on which assets they should sell, how they should free up capital. But what happened is that for the 40-ish% of their portfolio that was allocated to more illiquid investments, alternative investments, et cetera, they didn't have nearly the view into those assets. They had a lot of the information stored at best, oftentimes in Excel spreadsheets, and at worst in file cabinets, just kind of littered, all over the office. And so, learning from that, reflecting on that, Addepar was started really in late 2009. Saying, how do we design a software system, design a data model that can encapsulate any type of asset, and go really deep within investment positions within those assets that cover in a granular way, um, the the entire transaction history, the cost basis, et cetera, all the underlying bits and pieces of data that you need to accurately capture performance and a variety of other analytics around risk. And so if you get that right at the kind of micro level, asset by asset, and you also deal with a lot of the underlying complexities of multi-asset class coverage, multi-custodial coverage, multi-currency coverage, et cetera. Um, in aggregate, you're able to empower people who are managing these large diversified portfolios with a single system to see the entire portfolio both broadly and deeply in one unified way. And so, I mean, that is, it's night and day versus what people had available really during the financial crisis. And the whole motivation for starting the company in the first place, at the time, I was running Palantir's financial, basically finance business, and meeting with folks who were responsible for giant hedge funds and large mandates at banks, et cetera. And almost universally, once folks had portfolios that went beyond a certain degree of complexity, they would say very honestly that they really couldn't see everything that they were owning and managing and investing in. And so clearly there was a big opportunity. And I think the unique point of view that Addepar had and the approach that we've taken is it all starts with building purpose-built, much more modern technology to bring together all the data in a unified way. And then, of course, layering on the appropriate tools so that financial advisors, wealth managers, their clients, and all the various constituencies involved in owning and managing investments have easy to use tools to ask complex questions and really can iterate on those questions in real time.
Customer expectations have changed. People are looking to their financial institutions to provide them with experiences that fit their lifestyles. That doesn't mean just dumping data on them. It means providing proactive, personalized, and predictive advice. That's where Money App with Pulse comes in. Developed by MX, the Personal Finance Manager makes it possible to engage customers on every level, from professional budgeters to people who try to avoid personal finance entirely. This can lead to a 60% increase in logins and a 28% increase in NPS. See the MX platform in action. Ask for a demo at MX, that's the letters M and X.com. And to do that, it sounds like there are a lot of moving parts that you guys have put together. So it sounds like you're building an ecosystem. Is that correct?
It is, yeah. So, financial services, of course, are vast, and with the rise of quote unquote fintech, the way I look at it is, financial services had underinvested in strategic technology for decades. So now that more financial services firms are recognizing how strategic technology can be. There's so much work to be done. I think we're still in the early innings of the fintech movement. A lot of fintech has been more on the consumer side, whereas Addepar is very much an enterprise, SaaS company working very directly with large banks, working with custody banks, serving RIAs, family offices, et cetera. But in no way, shape, or form are we going to build all the technology that everyone needs. And so we've been very thoughtful in building Addepar's platform and our products in an open way so that we have APIs that allow us to integrate well with the best of breed providers. And by partnering with those best of breed providers, of course, far and away the most important priority is delivering a valuable product to each and every one of our clients. And so, yeah, the ecosystem that we built around Addepar's platform, product, and overall business, is predicated on us partnering super effectively and very well with other technology providers, with other services providers, to make sure that each one of our clients gets, literally the best, is able to make the best choice for each, bit of feature functionality they have within their firm.
Was it a challenge to build that, Eric, if you're working with a lot of firms that, as you described, have underinvested in strategic technology?
Yeah, well, the couple different challenges, right? Like on a client by client basis, there are a series of challenges where some clients are more advanced, more sophisticated, more mature with respect to identifying adopting and embracing new technology, and some clients are not, right? Like
Mhm.
for example, some family offices who use Addepar, many family offices who use Addepar, when we ask them what they were using before, they very honestly say Excel, and that's in part because um, some of them are just inherently late adopters of technology, but actually more common is that there hadn't been a sufficiently suitable purpose-built technology offering for them to actually manage the complexity of their investments. And so, reverting back to Excel and having a whole bunch of people do work manually was the only way for them to actually capture the details and the nuances of their investment portfolios to support their decision making. So by Addepar building something purpose built for not just family offices, but RIAs, for private banks, for super regional banks, et cetera, in achieving a level of scale, we've been able to help and really guide the clients we serve to become more savvy, to become more sophisticated in the way that they think about technology as part of their broader business strategy and how to achieve that. So that's one area of complexity or challenge. But with respect to your question on the ecosystem part, when we partner with other technology providers or other services providers, we tend to be very selective, and we want to make sure that we're laser focused with those partners on delivering the client experience that we're trying to deliver. And so uh, that requires a philosophy for us as a firm to really care a lot about our partners' business, just as well as we care about our own business and our clients' business. So how do we become exceptional partners? How do we build an offering that can scale? And as we're doing upgrades and our partners are doing upgrades, how do those land with clients in a way where it's as seamless as possible from the client experience? Because of course our clients have a business to run, and technology that's really, really well developed tends to fade into the background if you get it right.
I just want to ask a follow-on question to something you said, Eric. Um, on the client side, you described this community of, whether it's RIAs or family offices that has been underserved with technology. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're not quick adopters of it. But so does that mean does Addepar put emphasis on the onboarding process in terms of getting them up to speed, getting used to a platform that they may not have seen before?
Absolutely. So, let me maybe clarify about the statement I made about them being underserved by technology. They're using technology, but oftentimes the technology, you have a variety of fairly narrowly focused systems that you've been using, and so you just have a bunch of people effectively gluing these systems together, and it's just it's cumbersome to operate that way. And it maybe it works reasonably well when you're somewhat small, but for the firms who are experiencing a level of growth and also who have clients' expectations that are being heightened over time, that approach just like it works until it doesn't. And when it doesn't work, you hit a pretty hard wall, and then technology becomes kind of an impediment to the way that you operate your firm. And so if that's sort of the before picture, then the after picture is adopting Addepar and saying, okay, if Addepar is knitting together some of the underlying bits of technology. So, for example, we'll integrate with firms, CRM system and their financial planning tools and their rebalancing tools, et cetera, as well as some internal technology, if they, kind of custom built technology, if they have that. The whole reason we're doing that is so that you know the firm we're serving and all the various people within that firm, whether they're financial advisors who are out in front of clients every day, whether they're accounting and finance professionals, whether they're in a variety of other roles within a firm, they're able to use Addepar as one source of truth, as a single source of truth within the firm. They're speaking a common language, they're using a common platform, and that the data about the investment portfolios is all living within Addepar, and that's what they're considering to be their source of truth and their system of record to with respect to everything involving their investment portfolios. Now, of course, for take a CRM for example, the CRM would be their source of truth and system of record for client notes and a variety of other information, more qualitative information on clients. And so the integration between a CRM, as an example, with Addepar, like we have to put a lot of thought and a lot of care into that so that the data is flowing appropriately between those systems. So we take a lot of that burden off the client to maintain and manage that, as one example. And so if you take that same picture and you multiply it across, um, each of the point solutions that had been in place before, you can absolutely imagine how the firms we serve and firms who are more proactively adopting technology end up with a much more scalable operating model. They're able to translate that scalable operating model into a much more valuable quality of client experience that they're able to deliver, of course, to each client that they serve. And then they're able to grow their business because they can tell and show a much more compelling story to prospective clients that they're trying to win their business.
That makes a lot of sense. And for some of the firms that you serve, there's an end client involved, a financial services relationship, investment management relationship. How do you and Addepar think about servicing that end consumer of this type of data?
So uh, we think a lot about it. The Addepar's direct clients are RIAs, family offices, banks, etc. But the entire reason why they're adopting Addepar is to better serve their end client. And so, from a product strategy standpoint, Addepar has an experience, basically a portal and a mobile experience that each one of the firms who are licensing Addepar are able to curate and create their own Addepar views, make them available to their end clients. And they have a lot of ability to customize and tailor and tune each one of those outputs that they're making available to clients. And so, in addition to using Addepar's world-class reporting capabilities that allows the advisor to create in a pixel perfect way any type of performance report or variety of other exhibits in a fully customizable, fully tailored way, and render those into PDFs and share them digitally with clients. We also have a mobile experience and a portal experience that again that the Addepar's the firms who Addepar are serving directly are exposing those to each and every one of their end clients. And so that's a fundamental part of the offering. And the feedback that the advisors we serve get from their end clients is that they now have the end client is deepening the level of trust that they have in their advisor because they're able to self-serve in the areas that the end client wants to self-serve, but they're able to use their time with their advisor much more strategically to really dig into the areas where maybe they don't yet have the level of visibility. But it's there's two sides of the same coin, where a big part of the advisor's responsibility is telling and showing, of course, the end client an accurate picture of how we're performing relative to the goals that we've stated, relative to the preferences that the client has, and sharing that information in ways that are most easily consumable for that end client. Where some end clients are uh, much more numerate, much more quantitative, and so they want all the gory details and big tables of data and everything like that. Some clients just want a rolled up view of the portfolio. They want to see the same 5 pie charts, and that's all they want to see. And you have of course, a massive spectrum between those types of clients. And so that really speaks volumes to why Addepar has been built in a way that allows the advisor to customize and tailor the outputs to accommodate the full range of clients. And but at the same time, like, if the end client gets overloaded or overwhelmed by a whole bunch of different types of data that actually don't translate into the advisor bringing that client's attention onto the things that matter most, then it's a missed opportunity for the advisor. And so that's why it's so important that using Addepar, the advisor is able to curate the exact right outputs for each and every client, so that they can deepen that trust with the client over time.
It's really interesting how the technology empowers such a personal relationship sometimes. Um, we have time for one
Well,
last. Sorry, go ahead.
sorry,
Please
on
address
that,
that.
like our really strong point of view is that, the whole world of wealth management, financial advice, it is absolutely a human to human relationship. Now, the human who happens to be the advisor has to be tech and data enabled, but we don't really see a world, especially on the high end of wealth management, where that human advisor gets replaced by technology. So it's our job to make that advisor much stronger, much more resourceful.
Yeah, it's almost like your augmented reality versus virtual reality.
It's a great way
From a
to think about
technology
it.
point, yeah. So we have time for one last question, and I guess given what you're seeing in your product pipeline and the feedback you're hearing from clients, like where do you think the market is headed, and where are you taking the product in the future?
Yeah. So again, our there are a few different ways to answer that. And so the types of firms that Addepar is serving again today, we've started with they call it the high end of wealth management. There's a much deeper opportunity for us, of course, to become even more and more pervasive within the high end of wealth management. But as you look much more broadly, we've invested massively in making our platform incredibly scalable. So today we have 350 plus firms using us. We have we hit $1 trillion of assets last April, and the growth rate from an asset standpoint is really just off the charts. We've hit that hockey stick, and so as we're evolving and growing out our platform and our products, it's all in service to helping firms both large and small provide a more compelling, provide a more tailored client experience, and knitting together the other pieces of technology through integrations in a much more proactive way. So that trend will continue. We have a lot, I make a statement internally oftentimes that I feel like we're in maybe the top or middle of the second inning, even though we're turning 10 as a company in September this year. So that evolution, that journey, we still have a lot more room to run there. And there's 120 plus $1 trillion of managed assets globally, and many of those assets are managed in, again, really old-fashioned ways. And so we're 1% of the way there. We have so much more work to do, but we're on an amazing path where one of the things that we feel most fortunate about is the types of clients we serve today are on the leading edge. They tend to be the most growthy advisors, the most forward-leaning businesses, and so they're at the leading end of a trend, and we're seeing that show up in our growth rates. So a lot of other clients are following their lead and becoming leaders themselves by adopting technology more strategically to deliver for their client experience.
Eric, thanks for joining us on the Tearsheet podcast today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.